kind of put one hand underneath his booty just to support his weight after he wraps around you. There we go. And here's a little bit of food for him. I'm gonna hold that bowl about right there. He didn't eat a whole lot of breakfast, so he might still be kind of hungry.
Hey, buddy. Hi.
Where are you guys from?
Dallas, Georgia.
Okay. I've never heard of that. What part of Georgia is that in?
You're better explaining than me, Ben.
Near Marietta.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
It's so soft.
Yeah. Yeah, they're a lot softer than people would expect.
I thought it would be more.
Course.
Yeah, especially with looking at Flash. He's got all that kind of Albert Einstein hair all down the back end. But yeah, they're pretty soft when they're in captivity. Now in the wild, naturally they'd be a lot more coarse because they have like an entire ecosystem basically that lives in their back, full of moss and algae and fungus and bacteria, all back there. And that coarser hair really gives them a better opportunity to hold all that to hold on to them. Now I will say that their legs are super sensitive. And sometimes it kind of starts to aggravate him after a little bit, and he'll be like, hey, stop that. Because for a sloth, the legs, they're going to be holding onto the underside of a branch, and a jaguar or any other animal that's trying to eat them would be on the top side. The first thing they're going to grab a hold of would be a leg. So it's just instinctually ingrained into their minds for their legs to be really sensitive when things are touching those. Same thing with their underside. The underside of them and their chin area, yeah, it's really sensitive. And if you go to touch those, it can be kind of startling for them because it's, ingrained into their mind, even though he doesn't know what a jaguar is or he's never had anything threaten his life, it's still hardwired into him to be a little bit more cautious.
Can I pet his head?
Yeah, just pet with a grain of the hair.
Oh my goodness.
They're very different than dogs and cats. Dogs or cats not really like the scritches, using your fingertips, really getting in there, but sloths don't really like that because, again, that can kind of signal something in their brain, something's trying to like bite at them.
I got you.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, I started to do that long ago.
Yeah, and you can feel sometimes if you're in tune and paying attention to his body language and everything, you can feel him kind of tense up when people start to do that, or he'll shy away from it. Or a lot of times if people start to touch around the arms or things, he'll move the arms to where he's laying up underneath his own arm, or the arm's laying up underneath him.
What are you feeding them?
So that there is a mixture of brown rice, shaved up sweet potatoes, and the little brown pieces is a really high quality dog food that's been soaked in water and then mixed into it. So that's where he gets his protein from. But they do really well in that mixture. And then they also eat a bunch of leafy greens like spinach and kale and romaine lettuce and things like that, as well as a bunch of different types of veggies, like squash and zucchini and sweet potato, carrots and corn, different things like that we'll give to them.
He is beautiful.
So cute.
Yeah. Now Dash has lightened up quite a bit. When he first came to us, when he was only about 5 months old, the darkest spot that he is up on the top of his head is what color he was all over. He was one solid, real dark color. And then as they get older, they lighten up quite a bit to where by the time they're 2 years old and fully mature, the whole middle part of their back will be basically the lighter color that you see. You won't even really see any brown or black poking through.
Do they hear real well?
Oh yeah, because their eyesight's so poor. Their sense of smell and hearing is really heightened, and their sense of touch. The paw pads underneath, I'm sure you probably saw, they were leather.
Yeah.
They're really, really sensitive. They have a lot of nerve endings in those that allow them to know what they're grabbing onto, even if they can't really see what they're grabbing onto. Their depth perception is pretty off, and they really just see shapes and shadows. So they could grab a hold of what they think looks like could be the next branch, could be their own leg. If they're not paying attention and they let go of the back leg, they'll fall. And they do happen to fall quite often in the wild, but that happens about once a week.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is
I've seen
something
that.
that's common, yeah. They'll fall either from a miscalculated step, or if they go out to the very end of the branches and fall off, if the branch breaks, then they'll fall from that. And that's another thing that happens
Where's
pretty
his
common.
little ears? Are they right
Yeah,
here?
they're on both sides. You can kind of see where the hair is kind of
Oh, right.
displaced. Yeah, just back in through there, yeah.
Hi. Oh my gosh, you're so cute.
If you see his eyes, they have tiny little pinpoint pupils like
I
that in
saw
the
that.
daytime, yeah. But at night, they'll dilate quite a bit to where you'll actually see more black in their eyes than you do color. And they can see a lot better at nighttime. And some people consider them to be nocturnal animals. They're not fully nocturnal. They sleep both in the daytime and at night. They just take a lot of little micro naps all throughout the
I
day.
noticed you leave the light on for Flash all the time.
Well, no, it's supposed to go off. He just didn't come up and turn it off last night.
Because I kept feeling so bad for him. I said, shine the lights on all night.
Yeah, no, he's supposed to come down and turn it off occasionally. Yes, last night was just crazy because the night before, He only got like 4 hours of sleep, because he went to the animal sale and got back at like 3:30 in the morning. And then yesterday we went out to eat Mexican and had to deal with monkeys all afternoon, and then when we got back, so it was just hectic yesterday.
Now, what is your name?
Michaela.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Donna, is she back?
Not yet, no, she's supposed to, what's today, Friday? Yeah, supposed to be back either late tonight or tomorrow. She'll be back.
Do they grow more claws when they get older?
Yes, their claws continuously grow as
Yeah,
they
like he
age.
doesn't
Yeah.
have as many as Flash.
Well, no,
That's
he
the
has
same.
the same amount, it's just the
not
length
large,
that's
the
different,
length's
yeah.
different.
So they're considered to be, they're two-toed sloths, although it makes more sense to say two-fingered, because if you look real close at Flash, sometimes it looks like he's got 3. Well, he does have 3 on the back feet. All sloths will have 3 on their back, but it's the front feet where they differ. So two-toed sloths will have 2 on the front and 3 on the back. Three-toed sloths will have 3 on the front and 3 on the back.
Huh.
So,
He's so.
he's gonna lick that bowl clean. He said, I didn't finish my breakfast, now I'm extra hungry.
He's so. Now they have teeth. I mean.
Oh yeah, yes. Yeah, and they got a full set of them too. It can be kind of misleading because they don't have any in the very front, but on the sides they've got 4 really
Molars.
sharp canines. Yeah.
You know,
And Chloe is hearing
Is
us
there one in
talking
there?
and she's waking up. Yeah. She hears us talking and she's like, is it time for my midday snack? But yeah, their teeth are very, very impressive. And Kevin just sent me a video the other day of a live kind of a skull of one of the sloths. And you can see how really sharp and long those are.
holy
Now that's a
cow.
fully mature sloth. And so those teeth will continuously grow throughout their
Holy
lives as
cow.
well, and they stay really sharp like that. And their teeth are kind of like a self-sharpening mechanism where the front 2 fit just over top the bottom 2. So every time they close their mouth, those teeth are grinding up against each other to sharpen them, yeah. And so when they're younger, they're just a little bit more dull, but they're still fairly sharp. And then as they get older, they'll sharpen as well. They'll sharpen even more. And Flash, we had
Why are their canines so long?
That's a good question. A lot of people think that they would be some type of a carnivore because of how long they are. Because a lot of other animals like jaguars, their teeth are going to be pretty similar.
Sure.
And a lot of people will ask me because of that, what did sloths evolve from? Were they something else, earlier on down the road? And I always tell people that sloths evolved from other sloths. They were sloths in the beginning. Their teeth always look like that. They're just a little bit different over time. We did used to have the giant ground sloths that had a similar diet. They would eat the leaves of trees as well, just down low because they couldn't climb. But their teeth looked very similar.
Can I see
So.
his picture?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can take all the pictures you want to.
Wait, he?
Yeah, his name's Dash.
You're
Dash.
so pretty, Dash. I see you. Yeah.
You guys have other encounters today?
We did the kangaroos last night, and what else do we do? We do something else today and tomorrow.
Yeah.
I know we were gonna do the baby camels, but I think they've weaned them off, right? Is that?
They've weaned them from their midday feeding. Yeah, the
Okay.
midday feeding is done now, so.
You got the whole little spider monkey.
Yeah, she made an appearance, yeah.
His nose is so shiny.
Mm-hmm. And it stays like that all the time. Sometimes it's even just a little bit moist, and you can see what looks like little beads of sweat. It's not really sweat, it's kind of like condensation. They really have to have it pretty hot and humid in their enclosures, and so we do have to mist their enclosures once a day. And even when they're sleeping in a basket, we mist down in there just to keep them kind of moist. Because if they dry out and their humidity really goes down, their little noses will start to crack, and you'll see little cracks on there. Now just keep in mind, remember, the legs are pretty sensitive, so they just try to stick down the middle of the back.
I know. I touch you.
No, he didn't. He's asleep.
Mhm.
He is beautiful. Hey, buddy.
Is he hugging?
Yeah, he's asleep.
Mhm.
It's like, I wish y'all would just shut up.
He's content being in somebody's lap, doesn't matter how loud they are, as long as they pet real nice and slow, just like that. That's what's most important. John, he's a pretty loud individual, and so when he talks, he's got this real loud, deep voice and everything, and it's weird because you would think that for a sloth, It like real slow, calm, talking and everything, because that's kind of how they move.
Sure.
But it's like his voice and everything just kind of wakes them up, and they get a lot more lively, and that's when they'll wake up. Because for Flash's absolute favorite person is John. John was the one that spent the most time with him, working with him when we first got him, over 3 years ago now. And back then we had 3 employees, 2 of which being John and Donna. So we've grown a lot since
So
then.
it's John, it's not Larry. Where did I get Larry?
Which one has the monkey joy?
John.
John,
John.
okay, it's John. I
Yeah.
don't know why I called him that. Yeah, he let us hold her last night while we were doing
Yeah.
the kangaroos.
Yeah.
And then he went to pet Georgie.
Oh,
He was
yeah.
like, ah!
Yeah, Georgie he's got an attitude.
Yeah,
He tried to come up the stairs.
You meet him on
and
farm
see
tour.
me.
yeah, Georgie didn't like me, but Joy liked me.
Georgie just gets protective of Vlad when he's sitting on it around his neck.
Of course, I had some big old sunglasses on, so
Yeah.
I probably didn't.
You look a little bit
Yeah.
funny, yeah.
Well, look at there. Look at me an apple.
Surprised that he didn't look back to see what's going on, because most of the time he sees or hears anything back there and he's looking back.
Patty.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Me too.
It's okay, I got you.
Oh,
I'm sorry, you know, Patty.
I'm sorry.
Was that vape thing?
No, it's my phone.
Oh. No, it startled him.
Yeah.
He's-
They're real easy to startle. Sudden noises like that is what gets them.
No, he squeezed me with all of his.
Yeah. Yeah, even just something as simple as tearing a paper towel down real quick off the paper towel roll is enough to make them jump. Because their ears are really super sensitive. And constant loud noises are fine. Like sometimes we'll run the blowers out there and pressure wash and everything. And the initial startup will make them jump. But then after that, they're fine. Constant noise like that. But it's the sudden noises that are really startling to them. And if they're startled enough, they can actually fluff up real big. All their hairs will stand on edge. And they don't ever, I've never had one fluff up like that when they're sitting on somebody, even if they're real startled. It's like the person is like their form of comfort.
Right.
They kind of go from when they're babies, their mom being their source of comfort, to then after the mother weans them, the breeder then gives them a little stuffed animal to hold on to in the same position that they would be on their mother. So then that's kind of how they feel most secure. But then they'll make that transition, which Chloe is in right now. When we first get her out, she'll be on a little stuffed animal or a towel or something, but then eventually will climb up onto you, and she would rather be up on you rather than sitting on that towel. So that's how they kind of make that transition. It almost basically goes from mom being their source of comfort to then humans being their source of comfort after they've been weaned and after they make that transition. And that doesn't happen just naturally. That's not just something that's going to happen for a sloth that has been just taken out of the rainforest and you try to just pick it up and hold it. It's going to essentially be the difference between holding a house cat and a feral cat that's going to be trying to get away from you, clawing her eyeballs out in the process.
Right.
And even for Flash is comfortable with being around people, and he'll come down and eat out of our hands, and we can pet him real nice and slow. But I have a feeling that if we went in there and just picked Flash up and tried to just put him on us for the first time, he would be trying to do everything in his power to get away from us. And that would probably break a lot of the trust that we've built over the years.
Yeah.
So it's a very slow, gradual process that has to be done over time. And you really have to understand the way that their brains work too, because sloths think very differently than any other animal. And you have to keep in mind the type of animal that they are. They have a lot of other animals in the rainforest that would try to eat them. So that's just the way that their brains are geared. It's very unlike a dog or a cat that have been domesticated over the years to live in our houses and everything. And I don't like to use the word domesticated for sloths because they're not domesticated animals. Flash has been born and raised in captivity, but is not of his own free will just wanting to hold on to us. He'll come and spend time with us and everything, but he didn't have the same raising and have that slow, gradual change to have something to hold on to and then be holding on to a person. So after his mother weaned him, he went onto a branch all by himself and had to figure out how to navigate his enclosure and eat on his own and everything like that. So, and that's what people originally, their reaction is, they feel sorry for him. They're like, man, it's sad that he was all by himself and everything. When naturally, that's what sloths are going to seek out. The sloths that are our ambassador animals are not naturally raised sloths. It's been slow, gradual adaptations over time to get them to where they're comfortable with being held like this.
What rainforest they mainly from?
The Amazon and, down in, Central and South America and different parts.
Madagascar.
Not necessarily Madagascar, no. But places like Brazil, Honduras, Costa Rica, Guatemala, places like that.
Hello, my little friend. Hello. You're so
That's been about half of our time. Do we want to swap
Yes,
out? Or are you done?
absolutely,
Okay.
if you don't mind.
Yeah.
She's been very mad if
Come on, bud.
I got his butt.
Yeah, we'll lift his butt up there. Here we go.
There you go, got him.
Yeah. All right. Then I'm gonna have you guys swap out chairs there.
Buddy, you don't have to hold on so tight.
Like recently, he's been forgetting that he doesn't have to hold on very tight. And he's always been the one that's been just very relaxed about holding on and never really, and I always tell people to support him underneath his booty, because if you don't, he'll slide right down in between your legs and be down real low. But recently, he's been really holding on.
Well, no, he was relaxed with me.
Yeah, yeah. All right, so he's gonna open up his back legs and just wrap around your waist, and you'll put kind of one hand underneath him just to support his weight.
Oh my gosh.
And then this food bowl is still here too. If he looks like he starts to get hungry or anything, you can offer this to him. Leave it right here.
No, it was almost like when he ate there, he was like, yeah, nap time now. See, Patty, I'm not gonna drop my Mountain Dew.
Hi. Your little nose is so cute. You hugging me?
But probably the most interesting thing about sloths is actually the way that they digest their food. So starting off, one bite of food will take about 30 days to digest through their entire systems. And the way that they process their food is very different than ours. We use an enzymatic process, and we're born with the enzymes that we'll use to digest our food unless you're born with some kind of a pancreatic disease. But the sloths are not born with the bacteria that they require to digest theirs, and so they have to get it from somewhere. And they'll get it from their mothers. The first little bit will come from their mothers, not through their milk like a lot of other animals will get passive immunity from the colostrum, but actually through the mother's saliva.
Saliva.
Yeah, so while she's eating, around day 3 of the baby's life is when they first start to be interested in solid food, and they'll climb up onto the chest of the mother, and while she's eating, start to lick her in the corners of her mouth and lick up some of her saliva, take some bites of food out of her mouth while she's eating. And then it's really common for them to kind of kiss each other in their mouths. They'll kind of lick each other's mouths and everything. And they'll kind of swap spit back and forth. And the bacteria that mom has in her gut is also in her saliva. So yeah, it'll transfer over to the baby. Originally came from his mother, and he'll keep that the rest of his life because he's in captivity, where we always keep it 80, 81 degrees in here. It always stays warm, so that bacteria has a good environment to thrive in. Now in the rainforest, sloths will actually have a very, very important symbiotic relationship with a specific type of moth called the sloth moth that lives on their backs that will provide that same bacteria, because in the rainforest temperatures are always fluctuating. Well, for the most part it's pretty hot and humid. Depending on the season that it is, it can drop as low as 60 degrees overnight. And sloths cannot maintain their own core body temperature, so their temperature will drop as well. Thus that bacteria cannot live in it, so it will be wiped out. So they need those moths that are on their backs, because in the waste product of those moths is the same bacteria. And they'll lick that up and then be able to digest their food again.
Wow.
And so in captivity, we don't need those moths because we always keep them warm. But if anything were to happen that let them get cold, if they're, the power went off, our backup generator didn't kick on, whatever, a possibility that would never happen, because we've got backup plans to the backup plans for these guys. And that's what you have to be able to keep a sloth in a safe environment, where you're not going to have to worry about power outages or stressful events or anything like that, because even stress can wipe out that bacteria. It's really sensitive. But if they got cold, or there's a really stressful event and somehow all that bacteria was wiped out from their gut in captivity, well, that's really about the end of that sloth. It would be approximately 2.5 weeks before the sloth would starve, even with a full belly of food, just unable to digest any of it if they don't have that bacteria. So that's why owning a sloth as a pet for a member of the general public is a terrible idea.
Oh yeah, you don't know how to take care of them.
Yeah, she's trying to wake up. She says, "Somebody come get me. Time for my snack." But it doesn't make sense for any other animals for the temperature of their environment to dictate whether or not they can digest their food, but that's how it works for sloths.
Wow.
Do they interact well with each other? I mean,
Not really. Sloths are naturally very solitary animals, so even if you house sloths in the same enclosure, eventually our plan in the future is to build an actual sloth house where it's a really big like aviary type thing, where we're gonna have all three of our ambassador sloths together, but they're gonna have enough space to where they're all kind of pick their own central hangout spots. And they'll move around, but they're not going to be cuddled up right next to each other. If you put two sloths in the same small enclosure, it would probably end up badly. They don't like to be around another, and they don't naturally want to be around other people. That's why, like I said, if you go out into the rainforest and try to interact with one of those, it's going to go very differently. And I've seen videos that scare the daylights out of me because I know how sharp their teeth are, and I've seen how sharp their teeth are. The people just trying to pick them up and move them across the road or something. They're just trying to help out. But it's really dangerous, not only for the people, but for the sloth as well, because sloths will have that entire ecosystem living on their backs, full of that moss and algae and those moths. And if you disturb that ecosystem enough just by picking them up and moving them to a different tree, just to, help them out and get across the road, it'll mess up that ecosystem enough to where those moths are like, well, this is not a hospitable place for me to live anymore. I'm going to go find a different sloth to live on. And then that leaves the sloth with no bacteria to digest its food the first time it gets cold.
so how long do those moths stay on them?
Their whole lives.
Really?
Yeah. They're called the sloth moths, so that's the only place that they live in the entire world.
No.
Yeah, like I said, their chin and their underside is really sensitive for them, so even though it's super tempting, we have to keep in mind what the animal is kind of was wanting. But yeah, so the wild sloth, they'll have anywhere from 100 to 150 moths living all over them at all times.
Wow.
And that's why sloths will kind of get the bad rap of being stinky or gross animals, when in reality they're not. Sloths don't have any natural scent glands or musk glands to them, and so they smell just like their environment does, which, in the rainforest, just is dirt, earth kind of smell. But moths, for the most part, normal moths will spend most of their time in a dung pile or something, so people are thinking that that's why they're hanging out on them, is because they smell like poop, when in reality that's not the case. Now, once a week, when the sloth does decide to go to the bathroom, they go to the same exact spot every single time. They'll go all the way down, they'll hold on to the trunk of the tree, and start to wiggle their little booties back and forth as they go. And while they're wiggling, that signifies all those moths to crawl down off of them, all the females, and lay their eggs in the dung pile of the sloth, and then they'll crawl back up. And then a week later, when the sloth gets the urge to go to the bathroom again, they'll go back to that same tree, same side of the tree, to the same pile as last week, because in that pile are last week's eggs that were laid, that are now this week's larva. And this week's larva will be next week's adult moths, and so that cycle goes around and around every week, where there's more moths to crawl up onto them every single time.
That's crazy.
Because not only are they getting the bacteria from those moths just by kind of licking themselves, grooming themselves, and eating some of that bacteria, well, they're also eating some of those moths, and that's their protein source in the wild. So it's important that they always have more to climb up onto them.
They got the bite force.
The bite force of the sloth is not incredibly strong. It's just that the teeth are super, super sharp. So you definitely would know it if you were bit by a sloth.
Oh, it would hurt.
Yeah. And for one of these guys, sloths can have quicker movements if they need to. They can be jerky, especially if a fly or something lands on the back of his head. He can't stand it, and he'll whip that claw up a lot quicker than people would think. Yeah, to get that off his head, just that little bit of tickle, he can't stand it. And it shocks a lot of people, but so they can have quicker movements like that. And get you if they need to out in the wild. But to be bitten by one of our ambassador sloths, you basically have to be trying to do it, because it's not like they are just going to want to be, lashing out like that. Now, like I said at the beginning, their eyesight's really, really poor, and they explore when they're babies a lot with their mouths. So if they see your arm going up and down while you're petting them, they start to look over like, what is that moving over there? And they'll start to look to open their mouth up towards it. That's why we got to move our arm away, because they can't tell what it is. They're just going to explore it. A lot like puppies, especially with Chloe. She's only 5 months old, but right now all she knows that when something comes up to her mouth, it's a food bowl. So she automatically goes to open up. So it doesn't matter if it's an arm or if it's a finger coming up to her mouth. She can't tell. She's going to open her mouth up to it.
How long have you been here?
I've been here for almost 6 months now. Yeah. my end goal is to become a veterinarian, and so this is just kind of a step along the way, hopefully. This will be my second time applying. I had applied to vet school last year before I started working here, but didn't get accepted my first time. And so I started working here just to kind of get some more exotic experience. You know, title of sloth keeper, I was thinking would probably help me stand out for my applications.
That's pretty neat.
And I got an interview again with UT, and now I'm just waiting to hear back from them to see if I got in.
Here. What are you doing?
What is
That little tongue sticking
I
out.
know.
That's Humphrey, my camel.
Oh, the
He's out
camel.
there, yeah.
He was crying when
He's sad.
his little friend, the guy with the long hair,
Oh, yeah.
he was out hugging on him, and then he went and jumped on his little four-wheeler, and he was
Mhm.
like, he was crying, running, looking for him.
Yeah. Yeah, he loves Grant. It was funny because I had stepped out back and he was out there playing. And I was like, come here, Humphrey. And I was kind of holding my hands out like this. And he was slowly walking over while he was crying. And then Grant comes out and he's like, come here, Humphrey. Do the same thing I am. And he like completely beelines and goes straight over to Grant. I'm like,
You
what
could
the
tell
heck?
when he left because he hopped, and because I was watching him out back because I was standing on the back deck
Mhm.
or the back porch, and I was like, oh, your friend left because he was like, oh, he was
Yeah.
like making all these sad sounds. Hi.
Sometimes he throws his head back. Huh?
Uh-huh. Yeah, it opens his mouth up real wide.
He's stretching.
I think that's what he's doing.
Well, when he's looking back like that, you know, some scientists speculate that when they're looking upside down, that's actually their way of seeing right side up. And when they're the other way, that's like everything's flipped, basically. So it makes more sense for them to be looking upside down. But they're attracted to movement, which is why when I do his encounters, I sit over here out of the way. Sometimes, depending on how active he is, I have to sit like this on my hands because I talk a lot with my hands, and even just the movement can be enough for him to start looking back at me. And sometimes, depending on the mood that he's in, he'll start leaning further and further back just to see what I'm doing back here. Especially if somebody walks in and goes to like open up the door of the fridge or something, he'll be looking to see what's going on back there.
That little nose is so cute.
He is our most inquisitive sloth that we have.
He's a male. What's her name?
Chloe.
Chloe. She female.
Mhm.
How old is she?
She's 5 months.
Okay, so she's a little smaller than him.
Oh, a lot smaller.
Really?
Dash is 6.6 pounds, and we weighed her at the same time, and she was 2 pounds. And that was right after both of them went to the bathroom. So we weigh them every week after they go, because if you weigh them right before, it's going to be a very inaccurate weight because they're
They
basically
only go
full
to
of
the
crap.
bathroom once a week.
Mhm. About every 7 to 10 days.
So they pee and poop at
Mhm.
the same time?
Yep. Different tunnels, but the same exit, basically.
Wow.
So they'll start to pee first and then they'll poop. It's like they've got to work it up. And really the only thing that a sloth will do relatively quickly is go to the bathroom. Because when they do, traditionally, they'll go all the way down to the base of the tree, and that's when they're most exposed in the rainforest, yeah.
Now, where are you from?
Around here.
Born and raised?
Yeah. Yeah, about 45 minutes from here, but.
Hey, little friend.
Now, y'all got a lot of exotic animals that require a lot of upkeep.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, we have the same licenses as a zoo does. We're licensed as a zoo. We just don't call ourselves a zoo because there you're not going to be getting an experience like this one-on-one with the animals. You're going to see the sign that says Sloth and his name and all the information, but maybe possibly not even get to see him. But it just kind of depends on the day for him.
He is beautiful.
So cool.
I'd like to just let him lay on my chest while I lay there and watch TV and
Yeah.
sleep.
Somebody said the other day that we needed to offer Sloth naps and just come in here.
That's what I
boy.
said.
Yeah.
I know we were laying up in the bed earlier, and I said, I just want a sloth or a monkey to cuddle up with right now. Get your little teeth.
I let my dogs lay on my chest.
Mhm.
Like if I'm laying there watching TV, I've always encouraged it, and I really shouldn't do that. But I even had a 105-pound dog, and I let him lay on top of me.
Yeah.
You know.
His little eyes are up.
Starting to get sleepy. He'll fall asleep completely in people's laps as long as they're just petting real nice and slow like that. And they feed off of people's energy too. If there's his age requirement now is 12 years old, And so a 12-year-old would come in and hold him, and all 12-year-olds are different. We made an exception the other day for one that was almost 12, and she was a very, very mature 12-year-old. I mean, like her encounter went better than even some grown adults, because, beforehand I say where to pet him, where not to pet him, do's and don'ts and everything. And still, some people will completely ignore it and still do things that I've said that he doesn't like to do. But she was just and most of the time 12-year-olds, they have short attention spans and they'll forget what I've said and they'll start to do the scritches, because that's just a real common thing that a lot of other animals like. But it's very different for the sloths. But she was very, very mature. But sometimes with the younger ones, they'll forget and they'll start petting in other ways, and you can see he starts to wake up and move around a lot more, and it's like, what is going on here? What is all this movement?
Wow, he's something. How long do they live?
So it varies quite a bit. In captivity, the oldest sloth that we know of lived to be 54 years old. So his roommate actually lived to be 52. That was in a zoo in Germany, and he just passed away last August. Now in the wild, we expect it to be about 10 to 15 because of all the other animals that would try to eat them.
And disease and things.
Yeah, and that goes for any other animal that is living in the wild too, that has a lot of other animals trying to eat them.
Oh, sure.
So, what do you think?
I moved that leg, so and it made a weird noise.
Yeah, you'd be surprised. Even little noises, like sometimes if I'm twisted more to where I'm not really looking at the door, sometimes Kevin, when he comes in and messes with the cameras and stuff, the guy with the longer hair, he's so quiet when he comes in, I can't even hear him open and close that door. But Dash can, and Dash sees a little bit of movement, and he'll always break his neck to look back there, and I always know when Kevin has come in just because he's looking over there.
No, it was a fast sweeping noise with my foot, and he immediately went back like, what is that?
Even something as small as like when I uncross my legs, he'll hear the fabric rustling across, and he'll look over.
Your little teeth.
What do you think, buddy? Well, I know that our time goes by so quickly, but it has just finished up here.
That's okay. I thank you. You're very good. Look, he's reading. No, you're very good at what you do. You're very informative.
Good luck for vet school.
Yeah, thank you very much.
I'm a vet tech, so.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. I hope
You work with small animals, large animals?
Small.
Yeah.
But I haven't. I've kind of retired
Yeah.
pretty much now, right?
Yeah.
Over the last couple of years.
Yeah. Cool.
Look at that little guy.
Yeah, that's our iguana and our two sulcata tortoises.
Oh, the sulcata, that's one of the ones.
The same
out
ones that are
here.
out there, yeah. Yep,
Very
yep.
cool. Well, good luck.
Yeah.
I hope you